Hello. I decided to actually do a video entry for my reflection journal for this question. And one of the questions we had, what is atypical? Um, what is the importance of understanding typical oral language development? And there are several stages to typical oral language development. We start with birth to 12 months with babbling. Then we move into one word utterances, and that's 12 to 18 months, where we're saying mama or dada, the holophrastic stage. Then we move into two words at 18 to 24 months, where they may say want ball or want blankie, into the 24-month, the 30-month, into the telegraphic, where you have a little more complex. This is the 2 to 2.5, 3-ish age group. And at 3 years, they're definitely having more complex discussions, receptive and expressive. They have about 1,500 words that they've acquired by then. They're able to answer those, what we call WH questions, the who, what, why, when, how type of questions. And this is the crucial stage of development, that 3 to 5 age. I used to be a pre-K teacher and kindergarten teacher for many, 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 many years. And we would see this development continuously. And this was always the area where we would start having parents, um, they would either accept that there's a language or oral language concern, or there would be denial. And oftentimes, where, and I'm kind of getting off topic a little, but I thought this was important because it just made me think back when I had students in the classroom. Often, when they have siblings, that can be a hindrance and it can be a plus, because sometimes, on one hand, you have siblings that are pretty advanced, right? I'm thinking, these kids may be GT. Little Timmy over here, mom's coming and telling me he's not able to retell a story like Gabriella was, and I'm really concerned. She was able to do that at 3.5. Okay, that's not typical oral development, right? She was just advanced. And I also have that concern even when we're looking at some of the curriculum that's being developed in pre-K. Some of the tasks that they are asking is not developmentally appropriate. And so when you're looking at academic achievement and we're reviewing that, oftentimes they'll say, well, they're not developing, they're scoring below average. Well, that's based on curriculum but not development. Yeah, so those, we do have those issues. Also, the opposite is true. You have a parent who does not have any other children but that one child, and they say, but Timmy understands me at home just fine. Well, what do you mean you may be concerned with oral language development? He, what do you mean, do I use hand gestures? No, I don't use hand gestures at all. And then the more you start talking, all of a sudden they say, he knows what he wants. I'll point to this and say, do you want orange juice? And he's able to tell me yes and no. Well, he's 4 and you just pointed. It's kind of hard to not point. I said, but when your arms are folded and you ask Timmy, what drink do you want? And he should be able to tell you orange juice. I want orange juice. I want milk. I don't like chocolate milk, without you pointing or using hand gestures. So that just made me think of that, why it's so important to understand oral communication, because this is, sometimes we need to explain to parents. But that's going to take me a step further, going a step further. So 3 and 5, that's that crucial age they talk about development. And at that point, we're able to move from the abstract, or sorry, move from concrete communication or concrete identification into abstract thought. It's that transition. So that is crucial. So when we look at oral development in atypical students, students who are deafblind, the dual sensory loss, they're not able to acquire that incidental learning that helps build oral language development in typical children. They don't. They're not able to interact with their environment. So as teachers, it is our job to bring the environment to them, and then we want them to start branching out because the world is beyond just where they are. We want them to start exploring outside of that environment, an environment they don't even really know exists. So it's why is that important? So if I'm looking at PLAFs, development IEP goals, I need to know what's atypical, what's typical oral development, and then look at this child, develop assessments that's going to allow me to see where this child falls between those. Where specifically are those deficits? What IEP goals can I create that's going to help them develop that oral language skill? There's also a difference. I was reading an article. There's also a difference between your adventitious student who has deaf blindness versus congenital. There too, even within that population, there is a difference. That student with adventitious deafblindness, they may have already had some um, incidental learning. So they may have acquired and they have that stored memory of what a cup is, what it's used for, what is, now it may, I had the vision and the oral skill, I had the vision and the hearing skills to understand, oh, this pen is used for writing. But now that that's been retrieved, I still have an association with that pen, with that concrete object. I still understand. I may even have some abstract thoughts before I had the adventitious deafblindness. So those are things to consider as well. So where do we go from here? Once I'm able to understand those deficits, I'm able to develop IEP goals. I want to know what lessons I have that's going to support that. That's where I want to go. I want to know specifically what lessons or activities can I do to help develop oral language skills.